As students start to master their basic phonics instruction, they're ready to start diving into multisyllabic words. And part of multisyllabic instruction is understanding morphemes. And this means that they're identifying those smallest units of meaning within words. And with morphemes instruction, we typically relate this to prefixes, suffixes, looking at roots, Greek and Latin roots. And this type of instruction can be challenging. How do we help students be able to read these, identify them in words, but also interpret the meaning of what these words can be? When students have an understanding of the meaning of the morphemes, they're able to understand it with a vocabulary kind of perspective. But the instruction that you see out there online isn't explicit enough. It only dives into the surface of it. So in this video, I want to share with you some strategies that you can be incorporating into your lessons to provide explicit morpheme instruction. Morpheme instruction is incredibly important. And when students are able to tackle morphemes within words and be able to then interpret it into the meanings of those words to be able to understand the vocabulary of it, they're going to be stronger reading comprehenders, which is the outcome, the goal that we want students to be able to have. We want them to be able to have reading comprehension. And we understand that by looking at Scarborough's reading rote, by looking at the simple view of reading, and so many other theoretical frameworks that are out there behind the science of reading, then we know that there are multiple areas or components that we have to provide instruction in. And one of those areas that helps support vocabulary instruction, but also helps to support the decoding components, is going to be morphemes. And so with morpheme instruction, we typically start to see this around the second grade mark and going into the upper grades. And part of this morpheme instruction is that you're providing it explicitly to students, giving them ample opportunities to practice, and then allowing them to be able to transfer that over into their own independent readings. But we have to have the explicit instruction first, which is where the problem comes in, because I was doing a lot of research and studying around morphemes and trying to identify a very explicit and systematic way for presenting morphemes to students. And I'm going to be honest, there really lacks of just understanding morphemes and helping to teach them explicitly. And here are some of the issues that I ended up seeing with it. One, yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there about morphemes, but they only go into it so much by introducing, or there's a lot of games and activities that include other morphemes that you may not have even taught yet. And that poses a problem. And so I wanted to find a solution specifically for my BLC members on how to teach morphemes to their students in an authentic, rigorous, explicit manner that will help them be able to transfer this into their readings when they're doing this independently. So I came up with some strategies and an entire resource set that is going to help to support it. Now, I mentioned that this is for BLC members, and that is correct. It is for Bridging Literacy Community members, which is a membership that I have for 3rd through 6th grade teachers, and it's focused on literacy instruction for both reading and writing. We have everything from unpacking standards. You have teacher trainings that you attend live or rewatch some of the previous teacher trainings. There are resources for each of the anchors. There's mentor text selections. There are many units that you can get from it, and now we're adding grammar and also morphemes into this. And there's truly so much more to the community than just the resources themselves. It's a lot about providing you with professional development and the understanding to give you the strategies and the knowledge to make more informed decisions as an educator. So if you're interested in joining that community, I highly recommend that you do that now, because we have some very special things coming up that you're not going to want to miss. And if you don't join sooner rather than later, you're not going to have access to these surprises that we have coming. I can't really share more than that. I know everybody hates it when people say that. But if you are interested in it, talk with your school. We definitely work with PO orders, and we can get your school to be able to pay for it so that you can have a year's access of it. So we would love to be able to get in contact with whoever your admin is to help them understand a little bit more about what the community has to offer for you. So within this one, the resource itself, which you're going to see here, is the morphemes beginning for the community. And I'm really, really excited about it because this was something that I just finished creating. We're starting to create more of them to be able to add them for more of the morphemes that are out there. And I just like how it all came together. So I wanted to share what this resource looks like. But I also, if you are not a member and you don't really want to be a member, these are going to be strategies that you can incorporate into your own classrooms. I definitely want to help serve all teachers and serve all students. So even if you're not within the community, you can take these ideas and implement them all on your own. So I mentioned that morpheme instruction needs to be explicit instruction. And when we're providing students with practice, we're providing them practice with that specific morpheme itself. But when we understand and we think about morphemes, meaning prefixes, suffixes, roots, whatever you want to call them, but when we're thinking about them, it's not just about being able to see them in words or attach them in words or reading those multisyllabic words. It's about interpreting the meanings and understanding what that morpheme does to the root or to the base word that's happening there. So these activities are definitely going to help assist you with teaching this explicitly and giving them a deeper knowledge of what this morpheme has and the role that it plays within a variety of different words. So I'm going to stop talking face to face and let's take a look at this activity. So one of the first things that I want to show you is going to be our levels. So this is something that I have just finished working on. It is not something that is set in stone. It's going to continue to evolve as more research is being done and understanding a progression that works for teaching morphemes at an appropriate grade level. And so a lot of the information that you're seeing here was brought to me from research articles that I've been reading that have been done on morpheme instruction, but also being trained within letters. I am not a letters trainer, but I am being trained in letters. So a lot of the instruction that you're going to see here is also going to come from that. So what I did is I broke it down into two components, prefixes and suffixes, and then I also broke it down into Latin and Greek roots. And so within the prefixes and suffixes, you're going to see that there's multiple levels. In fact, there are 4 different levels for prefixes and suffixes, and then 3 different levels for Latin and Greek roots. Now, do not confuse levels with grade levels because those are not the same. And so in each of these, it's going to provide you with the grade level and what the focus is going to be. So for K through 2, you're focusing on inflectional endings. Yes, kindergarten and first grade can focus on S and ES and ED and understanding what that means. But then you're going to have like second grade that goes into more of these advanced ones down here at the bottom. So grade 2, we're going to have 3rd and 4th grade for common prefixes and suffixes. You're going to see those there. Grade 3 is going to have 4th and 5th grade, and we're going to focus on Latin, French, Greek derived prefixes and suffixes, which is important to really note. And this is brought to you by letters. So the letters training has articulated that Latin, French is appropriate to start with, and then you start to kind of go into those Greek derived prefixes and suffixes. So all of these are very purposeful in when they're being presented. And then you have the more advanced that are also down here as well. As far as the Latin and Greek roots, we see some different levels. And the way that these are broken down is for 3rd and 4th grade for level 1 is going to be common roots. And so these are some of the most common that we see, the most basic roots that students can start with. Then we have the Latin derived, and then we're going to have the Greek derived. So you can kind of see the connection, but notice that this is 5th grade and it starts with 5th grade. So you might have some that you teach in 5th grade from here, and then you're going to continue on here, but you may not get to all of them. So that's the way that we have this structured and breaking it down to help teachers understand what's the focus here. Like, what do I need to be teaching when it comes to morphemes? And you might not have a curriculum with it. And this is really going to benefit you in understanding which ones are important to teach when. This is something to get it out there, to get started, and to help teachers be able to teach a really important concept to students. So here is the resource itself. And when you go into the Bridging Literacy community, there's going to be a total morphemes folder that you will be able to have access to. And within there is going to be each of the lessons for each type of morpheme. And so right now we're going to be releasing 2 of them, hopefully 3 of them very, very soon. And we're going to continuously try to add to these throughout the year, hopefully within somewhat of this progression, so that you can make sure that you have hit all of the bases with students. Oh, one other thing that I do want to mention about this is that if you have done any research about morphemes, there are certain prefixes, roots, and suffixes that make up over 100,000 words within the English language. Every single one of those is hit in this resource as well. So members, you are also going to get access to this. So here in the lesson, the way that we have it written out is just the introduction, the reader, there's an unpacking the word practice, and then some other activities that we're going to walk through. So to begin is going to be a prefix introduction. And this is the way that we would want students to be introduced to the actual prefix itself. And so one of the things that we've done is we've given you a resource that looks like this. So this one is going to be one that gets placed on your wall. This one is going to be one that is utilized by you and can be kept within your small group or whole group instructions so that you can revisit and check see if students are understanding and remembering that content. So here's what that looks like. So here's that card. I just printed it onto colored paper. I would laminate and put this up on my bulletin board. This one is going to be the card that I keep with me. And so all it is just folded. So I fold it, and then that way I have this here. So I would be able to utilize this as I am teaching it. So let's say that I'm teaching this with my students. I'm going to have the card up and I'm going to say, the prefix we're learning today is un. What's the prefix? Un. Okay. The meaning of un is not. What's the meaning? Not. Your turn. The prefix is un. The meaning is not. Fantastic. So this is my way of being able to introduce. But then I also have words on the back that allow me to be able to share some words. I want you to hear, listen to this word. Unable. Say that word. Unable. How many syllables do you hear in unable? Un-a. So you can build in syllable practice. You can build in any form of practice that's going to help students hear and listen to either the syllables or maybe the individual phonemes that are inside of that word and helping to break those words apart. We have to build in the hearing component first before we start to lead into them reading it and working with it independently. So that is what this little card is for. So from there, we have them repeat some of the words here. They start to talk about the meaning again. So it has, what is the student saying? What is the teacher saying? And then there are some picture references here. And so what I mean by that is we've selected some images that you can kind of see here. So it's a upside down kind of image. And the reason we've done that is so that you can fold it, glue it, and laminate it. So now I have an image that goes along with the prefix. So the prefix is un, the meaning is not, the word is unaware. So students would practice with saying that word, unaware, and you would say, the people in this picture are unaware that there's a bear behind them. So that is a way for them to be able to connect it. You can even put some magnets on these so that you can post them up on your board along with this one if you wanted to. Then we give you two different options because the importance of understanding and being able to interpret those words and seeing them across a variety of examples is important for kids. They have to have multiple examples because they're building connection. And so in this one, the prefix is un, the meaning is not. So unkind, the two boys were unkind to the girl. So we can kind of start to build some of these connections with them. So that's like the introduction. The next thing that we provide is some form, I don't want to say it's a decodable, but in some sense, it is a bit of a decodable. You're going to be able to identify some of the words that are happening in here. So unwind, unwell, unlucky. So students would be able to identify those uns. You can have them highlight those within this text. But where the magic, I think, starts to happen is that not only are they practicing identifying and reading these multisyllabic words within a text, but then they have the opportunity to unpack the word. So this is a little half sheet that you can give students. It's not a full sheet. So it would look something like this. And with this little half sheet here, what they would do is they would select one of the words and they would be able to break it apart. Un plus lucky. And then they would give the meaning. So not plus, if we try to understand what the word lucky means, which is, I believe, one of the errors that we do in education is we just let kids say not lucky. But what does lucky mean? And having them unpack what lucky means, meaning like you can have them say, going your way, or getting the things that you want. Like getting them to help understand what these words are is so important. So having them break that down and provide the meaning of these words is a big one. So this is the unpacking the word activity that can go with this one. The other thing that goes into this resource is going to be a word builder. Now, not every student has to have this, but if we think about where there is within an MTSS model, you're going to have about 20% of your kids who are going to need more opportunities for practice, who are not going to understand it. And so when you start to pull them into small group and you're working more with them in small group, you can work on a word builder. And so for this one, students are basically just putting words together. So if I'm going to actually move this over so you can see it a little bit better. So let's say I did this, bear a bull. Now I put this one in bold because this hasn't been introduced yet. So this would need to be something that is discussed. Whereas the other ones, it's just the one base word, but this one had another suffix that was at the very end. You could have unnecessary, unbiased, unchange. And actually, this one does have a suffix, but it's one that's already been reviewed. If you look at the prefixes and suffixes chart here. So unchanged. So you can have conversations about each of these words, talking about the individual meanings, giving them some opportunities to write these words, to put these into sentences, to build them together, is really valuable for students. So you can have them build multiple words and then use those words within sentences within your small group. So that's the word builder activity. Very simple for you to be able to recreate. So this one is a little bit more of a challenge. So this one is like a Morpheme Cloze. Now, not to say that you can't build something like this, you certainly could. But in this one, what we did is we took the words with the prefixes un, and then we broke them down. So here you can see unable equals not capable, unaware, not plus having knowledge or consciousness. So you can have them build and understand and go over these words here, but they read the Cloze and then they identify the words that go in here. So we're really tapping into the meaning of words based on the morphemes and the roots or the base, the affix that we are including with it. So very powerful to have them think about the meaning and how it's placed into texts. And we do provide an answer key to go along with it. So one of the other things that can be small group related is going to be accuracy, because we need students to be able to read words with accuracy in order to build fluency. And fluency is going to be all about being able to automatically, accurately read words. And with these are multisyllabic, but the way that these are built is very unique. And so here it is based off of the same 5 words all across, and very easy for you to make. So I picked 5 words and then I just rearranged them on every line. So we get students practicing reading these words. And so if you have students who need more practice, building in accuracy opportunities. So handing this to them with a dry erase sleeve and then just having them be able to read them. One tip that I do want to tell you, that if you do something like this, make sure that they can read these words together. So either build these words on a whiteboard first, break them down for them so that they can see the individual morphemes as you work with them before you have them read it. So build it, work with it, listen, you're hearing those words, and then have them start to build that fluency. But practicing this is important. So I just want to come back here for a minute because it's really important to remember that fluency is built after accuracy. We have to build accuracy first. They need to know what the words are in order to become fluent. If you're just giving a text and haven't checked for accuracy at all, they will never build fluency from it. And when we think about the relationship that accuracy and fluency have with one another, yes, they are important. We have to have that accuracy before we can build fluency, but you also want to think of it in like an 80-20 rule. 20% of that time should be spent building accuracy, just knowing that the words that you're reading are correct. And then from there, we need to have about 80% of that time to build fluency. And too often inside of the classrooms, we get busy. Like, I get it. There's a lot of moving parts that are happening inside of a classroom. There's so many things that you're dealing with, but if we don't provide them with the 80% of time to build that fluency, they're never going to become fluent readers. So we need to make sure that we're building that into the time that we're using with our students. So from here, we have there is a B version, and each of these have a different set of words, and then we have a C version as well. The last thing that I wanted something that was a game, some type of an activity that students can either do collaboratively or independently. And that was a real struggle online. And it goes back to what we talked about earlier. And so one of the things that I did was I was doing a lot of research online, and a lot of the products that I see, whether it's Teachers Pay Teachers, whether it's just on social media, but a lot of the things that I see, they're great games. They're wonderful. They're engaging. They're beautiful games that have been created. But when we start to incorporate other morphemes into the mix, it becomes a review game. And if those morphemes have never been taught, then it's really hard to incorporate that into an explicit lesson for more opportunities for practice for that specific morpheme. And so I want to challenge you that if you have some of those resources, first, don't shame yourself, because I've been there. I've done that. Absolutely, wholeheartedly have been that teacher before. But when we know better, we do better, right? And so now, being that teacher that understands the importance of explicit instruction and also making sure that we're providing ample opportunities for practice, that means that I need to find activities or things for my students to be able to work and do for that more practice that focuses on the individual morpheme of focus here. I can have review games, absolutely, but I also want to make sure that I'm giving ample opportunities for them to get feedback and to practice with the focus morpheme that we are looking at as a class together. So the activity, the game that I have is try and Boggle with Scrabble. Let me tell you what I mean by that. So this was something, I feel like I just made this up. I don't really know if this is even a thing out there, but whatever, we're just rolling with it. Boggling with Scrabble is, I don't know if you guys love Boggle. Like, Boggle is a game that my kids loved to play when I was teaching, especially in my multi-age crew. They were all about a good Boggle game. But when I was creating this on Canva, I saw these little images, and they all have Scrabble pieces. So you can make all of this on Canva, but they have these little Scrabble pieces, and the Scrabble pieces have values on them. So the reason it's Boggle with Scrabble is that not every letter has a 1-point value. We're using the Scrabble value, but we're not really playing Scrabble. We're playing Boggle. Okay, there's a lot of explanation that's happening here. So basically, they have to create words that begin with a prefix un. And so they're writing like unaware, unkind, uncommon, whatever it might be. They can use the letter more than one time within creating their word. So it doesn't have to be that there's 2 M's to write uncommon. They can definitely reuse those letters more than once, but they can only use the letters that they see here. So they're writing the words, they're adding up the values based on the letters that they have. So these letters like M and W, and I think it is K, those hold a lot of value. And so they would then provide themselves with points. So this is an image of it. And then I give access by clicking to be able to get the slide itself so that they can utilize it with their classes. So you could do this with whiteboards and like collaboratively have students to be able to do it. Or if you wanted to have students do it independently, this is like a little half sheet to be able to get them to practice that. One other thing that I was thinking about, and this is a real last minute thing that I want to think about adding here, is going to be some form of a dictation practice. And so dictation plays a really important role in instruction because it's like that final phase that allows us to be able to transfer everything that we've been learning and seeing and hearing and reading, and then we're applying it into our written component. So I do believe I'm going to add a dictation piece to this as well. So just know that that's going to be coming out within the Bridging Literacy community. But those are going to be the activities. So if you are somebody who's really been struggling with understanding how to incorporate morpheme or explicitly teach morpheme into the classroom, these are some ideas that you can immediately start to take away. And not to say you have to write an entire decodable. You can write a paragraph that contains multiple words of un. You can utilize ChatGPT to help you. Although I will say ChatGPT is a little bit, it's meh when it comes to writing them. But you can find resources out there that help you when it comes to building some of those decodable pieces with students on that specific morpheme piece. But feel free to take any of these ideas away and implement them into your own classroom. But if you are somebody who is interested in becoming a member, I would love to have you. You can cancel at any time. I truly just want to be there to be able to support and provide you with authentic, rigorous resources that go beyond what your curriculum has or what your core program has, because there is nothing out there that is going to fit the needs of every single one of your students. And so having explicit lessons or components that you can start to incorporate into your core programs or into the curriculum that you currently have is just priceless. And the knowledge that the community is going to bring to you is unwavering from everyone else. No. And the knowledge that the community has is just, it is nothing that you can compare to any of the other communities that are out there or the other memberships that you might see that are out there. Our focus is really about building your capacity as an educator to helping you understand the components, the strategies that are based on research, that are based on improving the outcomes of students, and that are simple. And that is going to be the key there. So that is what Bridging Literacy is all about. I would love to be able to bring you into this community and give you a tour of it. So if you are somebody that would like to see a little bit more or learn a little bit more, please feel free to email me at bridget@bridgingliteracy.com. And of course, we do offer for schools. So if you are a school and you have multiple teachers that would benefit from this, please contact me. I can work with you on pricing to see how we can help bring this into your school, and also some other professional development needs as well. So thank you all so much for watching this video. I would love to hear your thoughts. What do you think of this? Do you wish that your school had something like this? I feel very proud about it. I'm saying it's not going to be perfect, but I do think it is a step in the right direction, which is what we definitely need to start seeing in our classrooms. So thank you so much for watching this video. I would love it if you would give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you have not already, and hit that notification bell so you can get notified when I upload a brand new video. Talk to you next time. Bye.